Have you ever engaged in sexual activity with a person introduced to you by Jeffrey Epstein?
No.
With respect to your relationship with Ms. Ghislaine Maxwell, did you ever, at any point during your interactions with Ghislaine Maxwell, know about the sexual abuse that she committed and facilitated against minors and young women?
No.
Have you ever engaged in sexual activity with a person introduced to you by Ghislaine Maxwell?
No.
Have you ever, at any point, visited Jeffrey Epstein's former estate on Little St. James Island in the U.S. Virgin Islands?
No.
In February of last year, Attorney General Pam Bondi said on Fox News that you traveled on Mr. Epstein's plane, quote, because it supposedly had a bed in there where Jeffrey Epstein had young girls. I will ask you, did you fly on Mr. Epstein's plane because it had a bed where Jeffrey Epstein had young girls?
No.
Are there any other accusations that have been made against you with respect to Mr. Epstein that you'd like to address before we get started with some chronological questions?
Well, I think you pretty well covered it. Thank you.
Thank you. I will ask a series of chronological questions. I'd like to try to create one clear chronological record. Some of that might be repetitive from what you've already talked about. I will try to keep that to a minimum. All of these questions are from a long time ago. If you don't recall anything about what I'm asking, just let me know. Starting with events before and during your presidency, the earliest known link that we're aware of between yourself and Mr. Epstein is that he made a pair of campaign contributions to you in 1992. There was a $1,000 contribution to your presidential election committee in January 1992, and another $1,000 in June to the Clinton-Gore General Election Compliance Fund. I imagine a lot of folks donated $1,000 to your campaign. Do you have any specific recollection or knowledge of those particular contributions?
No, I think this is the first time I've ever known that.
Thank you. That takes us into your time as president. You were elected in November of 1992 and inaugurated in January of 1993. Mr. Epstein visited the White House a number of times while you were in office. Our understanding is that Mr. Epstein visited the White House 17 times between 1993 and 1995. I am not going to walk you through each of those visits. I'm just going to break them into categories. I think first, with respect to the only Epstein visit where it is publicly known that you either met Mr. Epstein or had some interaction, was the White House Historical Association reception that you mentioned earlier. I know there's a photograph that you mentioned of yourself and Mr. Epstein meeting. Am I right that you have no specific recollection of meeting Mr. Epstein or Ms. Maxwell at that event?
I don't.
Okay. With respect to the other 16 times that Mr. Epstein came and went, and that spanned 1993 to 1995, am I right that you have no specific recollection of meeting Mr. Epstein any of those times?
No, I don't think I did, and I don't know who he saw.
It's been publicly reported that in March of 1995, there was a fundraiser in Palm Beach that you attended and that Mr. Epstein also attended. Other guests reportedly included Jimmy Buffett and investor Ron Perlman, who may have hosted the event at his home. Do you have any specific recollection of that event?
I remember going there in 1995. I have now seen the picture with Jeffrey Epstein and Jimmy Buffett. I recognize Jimmy Buffett. He was a longtime friend of mine. He performed for me twice in my second term as president. And we were friends for the rest of his life. But that's it. I don't know if he knew Mr. Epstein. I had no idea what that picture was. I didn't remember it.
And so is it right that you have no specific recollection of meeting Mr. Epstein?
No, I don't.
At that fundraiser, just for the transfer?
Yeah.
I'd like to introduce as Minority Exhibit C an article from the Daily Beast titled Jeffrey Epstein Visited Clinton White House Multiple Times in Early 90s. That article is dated July 24th, 2019. Once you receive it, I'll just direct you to page 8 of the article that you're about to receive.
Okay.
It's not dated.
I'll give you a moment to look that note over, and then I'll read the relevant portion into the record. Page 8.
So there's
Yeah.
this one.
Okay. Yep.
So you can see here that on April 27th, 1995, Lynn Forrester, now Lynn Forrester de Rothschild, sounds like served on a few committees or boards under your administration, wrote you a note. I'll just read part of that note out loud. Dear Mr. President, it was a pleasure to see you recently at Senator Kennedy's house. There was too much to discuss and too little time. Using my 15 seconds of access to discuss Jeffrey Epstein and currency stabilization, I neglected to talk to you about a topic near and dear to my heart, namely affirmative action and the future. And that's the end of the relevant portion. I just wanted to ask whether you have any specific recollection of this note or of your conversation with Miss Forrester.
I don't.
As far as you can remember, at this point in the middle of 1995, how would you have characterized your relationship with Mr. Epstein?
It would be virtually non-existent.
Do you recall any other interactions that occurred between yourself and Mr. Epstein during your time in office that have not already been mentioned today?
No. I think I've told you everything I know.
In October of 1999, toward the end of your time in office, we know that Epstein contributed $20,000 to the First Lady's joint fundraising account. Would you have any memory or knowledge of that particular contribution?
No, was that for a White House related thing?
No, joint fundraising, he means the Senate.
Oh, no, I didn't know that.
Okay, I am going to move to the years after your presidency. We'll do this in chronological order as well. Your second term ended in January of 2001. In December of 2001, the New York Post reported that you and Miss Maxwell had dinner at a New York City restaurant called Nello's. Do you have any specific recollection of that dinner?
No. I don't know. I didn't. Nor do I remember the article.
So moving into 2002, you touched on this in the previous round. It sounds like there were two meetings. We don't have exact dates for them, but one of them was at your office in Harlem with Mr. Epstein. The other was at Mr. Epstein's home in New York City. Could you just repeat for us, what do you recall about each meeting, maybe starting with your office in Harlem?
I just remember that sometime in 2002, I think, he paid a visit, and he had become, I think it was either after or just before we started the flights. But he obviously was going to be a serious supporter of the foundation, and I think he paid a visit. I was flattered he wanted to see my office. I liked it.
And then the meeting at his home in New York City, did I hear you say in the previous hour that Mr. Epstein was not actually there?
I said that when I wrote my book and talked about it, and when I've talked about it in the past, I realized I talk as if he were there, and of course he was there. And I started trying to picture the nice man on the staff that showed me around. And now I'm just being honest, I don't remember whether he was there or not. He could have been there, but I don't remember.
As far as you can recall, would the purpose of that meeting also have been related to Mr. Epstein's support of your work through his plane, for example?
Yeah, the reason we went by, regardless of who was there, was that my staff we finished an event in New York City that at a place, and Lord knows how many I've done since then, I don't remember what it was for, but it was in New York City. And my staff aide said, we're only a couple of blocks from Epstein's house. It's a converted elementary school. He's very proud of it. And I think, it'd be a nice thing to do. Since it's early, you could just go by and take a look at it. So that's what we did.
Do you recall seeing anything or anyone in his home that was suspicious or reflected abnormally young women or girls?
No, the only people I saw there that night were staff. And him, if he was there, I just don't remember.
Do you recall seeing any images of young girls or women at Epstein's home?
No.
So, moving to some of the travel on Mr. Epstein's plane, and we have specific dates for a lot of that. I'd like to move through that chronology of known trips, just one at a time, in order. To begin, flight logs indicate that on February 9th of 2002, and we'll give you the logs, you flew on Mr. Epstein's plane from Miami to Westchester County, New York, with Epstein, Maxwell, and some others. And you mentioned this flight in the previous round as well. I will introduce that flight log as Minority Exhibit D. And we'll give you a moment to receive that and take a look at it.
Is this one page?
It is one page, exactly.
Excuse me, Mr. President.
And the flight in question, the leftmost column has a number 9 on it, and you can see your name at the beginning in one of the middle columns.
Excuse me,
Yeah.
at the top, it says 15. Are you talking about a date? Could you just?
Yeah, the one on February 9th.
Thank you.
Sure.
This one.
Yeah, I do see it.
Great. I'll just ask some specific questions. As an initial question, and we can see it here, you had a Secret Service detail that traveled with you after you left office, presumably still does. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
that's correct.
And did that detail accompany you on all trips that you took with Mr. Epstein?
Yes.
For this trip from Miami to Westchester, first, just do you recall the circumstances of the trip?
No, I was down there and I was coming home. I don't remember why I was down there.
In terms of who was present on the flight, and we'll do this exercise with the other trips as well, are you able to make out from the initials here maybe who is who? In other words, I can see your name and I can see 4 Secret Service. And then from there we have 2 males, 1 female, I think Mr. Epstein and Ms. Maxwell, and then SK and AP. Do you have any recollection of who any of those folks may have been?
No. I just don't remember, I'm sorry, I don't. And the initials, they don't mean anything to me.
This isn't a record from yours, this is their record.
Yeah,
In February in 2002, so the same month as this flight, It was reported that you and Miss Maxwell were seated together at some type of charity gala in New York. I don't know what the charity was or where exactly the event occurred. Do you have any recollection of what I'm referring to?
Could you state the date again, sir?
In the same month, February 2002, and I don't have an exact date.
What was the report in?
Simply that you and Ms. Maxwell were seated together at a charity gala in New York.
Wow. I have no recollection of it, but it could have happened.
Heading into March of 2002, so the following month, we have a series of international travel, and the first of those trips indicates that on March 19th and 21st of 2002, you flew on Mr. Epstein's plane from JFK to London and back with Mr. Epstein, Ms. Maxwell, and some others. We will introduce those flight logs as Minority Exhibit E and go through the same exercise.
Thank you.
And that's the 19th and the 21st.
The 19th and the 21st?
Yes. Down toward the bottom of the page.
Oh, hold on, just forget.
Was this a flight to London?
Yes.
Yeah, this says we had 10 Secret Service agents.
So I guess just to start with, do you recall the circumstances or the reason for this trip?
And this was when?
This was March of 2002.
I don't, but keep in mind, there was a lot of stuff going on. India, in the late January, 4 days after I left office, had a horrible earthquake. And lots of people died. And I called the Prime Minister of India, Mr. Vajpayee, who belongs to the current leader's party, but was much less uber nationalist. And I asked him if I could help. And he said, yes. He said, I have the money and organization to fix the big cities, but not the smaller towns. And we need schools, we need hospitals, we need all this stuff rebuilt. Will you help? So that's the first thing I undertook to do, even before the AIDS thing, after I left the White House. So I was there. So by March of 2002, the next year, we were still working on that, and then the South Asian tsunami hit in December. So I was doing all this stuff and also trying to get set up at home too. So that's why it sounds unusual for me to have 10 Secret Service agents, but I must have been going to several stops.
And is it the same for you when you look at some of these names? I can make out the name Naomi Campbell. Do you have any recollection of Naomi Campbell being on this flight?
Naomi, when we went to Europe once, I think she went on one. She was a friend of Doug's, and that's what I remember. Let me see. Yep. And Jeffrey Ghislaine. I don't know who the other people are.
Looks like Doug Band is listed there, and
Yeah,
that,
he's there, but SK, I don't know who that is.
okay, great, thank you. Moving to May of 2002, just 2 months after the one we just looked at, flight logs show a series of flights around Asia. Got 5 flights, including Hong Kong, China, Singapore, and Thailand. I'll introduce the flight logs for that trip. Just take a look at it together as Minority Exhibit F. need it, right?
We do need it. Thank you. Oh, great. Thank you very much. You said
So
what?
those are from the 22nd to the 25th.
Let
There.
me just highlight that for a second. 22nd. And you're saying each one till the 25th?
Yeah, so the first one lists the former president, and then 4 in a row after that lists same as above. So it's the same group of folks for about 5 flights
Yep.
there. So, same question, this trip to Asia, do you have a recollection of the circumstances, how the trip came about?
Yeah, that was 2002, right?
Yes.
So we, and when was the tsunami? Was it at the end of 2002 or the end of 2001?
That I'm not sure of.
Just to the best of your memory, you have to share what you know.
Anyway, to the best of my memory, this was a trip to raise funds to organize our health network in Asia, which was basically designed to deal with AIDS, but also I was heavily involved in the reconstruction of India after the earthquake there. And was asked to do it by the Prime Minister and later by the UN. So I was involved with that.
And do you have any recollection of who these individuals on the flight were? For example, there are a few female names. I think one is Janice, one is Jessica. When you look at the log, do you have any recollection of who's who?
No.
Do
May
you,
have been a flight attendant, I don't know.
do you have any recollection of the flights themselves?
Of this
Not the
particular
flights
flight?
themselves.
This group of flights.
I remember we made several stops and you mentioned them. And we're going there, but that's all I remember.
To the best of your recollection, whether with respect to the flights or the trip itself, did you ever witness or become aware of sexual abuse of any kind?
No.
We then have logs showing 2 flights in July of 2002, and I will introduce those as Minority Exhibit G. Give you a moment to receive those.
What was the prior one?
Prior one would have been F.
And that was the May 2002 flight log.
There's F.
No, I put F on that, but I thought that was, sorry, so you're.
Oh, no problem. It should be May 2002. I have as F as in Frank.
Okay, I'm not sure what this one was. Okay, got it. I'm gonna get the labels later.
Okay.
Thank you, sorry about that.
No, not at all.
Apologize.
So this one will be G, and it's July of 2002, specifically on July 13th.
Oh, sorry. Next one, Mr. President. I'll get that in the database.
I'll
You
give you a
said-
moment
Hey,
to
does
look
this
at
say
it.
where we're going?
Yeah, it's on the 13th, and these flights are from Morocco to Portugal, and then Portugal to JFK. And our understanding, just from public reporting, is that this may have been part of a trip to Morocco to attend the King of Morocco's wedding.
And you're asking him about the legs that he's on.
This
Correct,
was-
exactly.
This was July of
Is that when his
2022.
wedding was?
Sorry?
Is that when he got married?
It may have been. I think that's my
July.
question for you, is whether you recall that this trip.
Well, I recall going to his wedding.
Okay. Do you recall approximately when that wedding would have been?
No, but it was a long time ago. I don't know if this was it. But I did go to Morocco more than once.
Do you recall attending the King of Morocco's wedding?
Absolutely, I did.
Do you recall whether Mr. Epstein and Miss Maxwell also attended that wedding?
I don't. I remember, I think Chelsea went with me. And I remember because my late mother-in-law loved Morocco, and Chelsea was there with her once, and she wanted to go. So we went, and it was really nice. I was very close to the king's father, and I marched in his funeral when he died. And so they had this wedding, and we were invited, and I very much wanted to go. Hillary was working and didn't go. Chelsea did, and I think Huma was with us too. I think,
There's been some reporting that you may have invited Mr. Epstein and Miss Maxwell to the king's wedding. It sounds like, but please you tell me, do you have any specific recollection of that?
I don't remember.
Do you have any specific recollection of these two flights, which may or may not have been part of the king's wedding? They're from Morocco to Portugal and Portugal to JFK. Mr. Epstein and Miss Maxwell were on the flights as well as yourself.
When I was coming home,
He's just asking you about these two legs, and he's asking you, do you have any recollection of these two legs of the flight?
no, I remember the wedding very well and all the stuff that happened, but that's all. I don't remember the coming or the going.
Thank you. In September of that year, we have the trip that I think a lot of folks are aware of. This is a trip to Africa in September of 2002. The trip started at JFK, ended in London, stopped in Ghana, Nigeria, Rwanda, Mozambique, and South Africa. Some high-profile figures were on board, including actor Kevin Spacey and comedian Chris Tucker, as well as Mr. Epstein and Miss Maxwell. I will introduce those flight logs as Minority Exhibit H. And I'll give you a moment to receive them.
Thank you. H. Thank you very much. H.
So this is a two-sided document, and the flights are the bottom half of the first page and one flight at the top of the second page.
Starting at the 21st?
Yes.
Sure.
Okay?
Starting there.
I'll just ask you generally, before we look at the log specifically, what is your recollection of how this trip to Africa came about?
Well, this is where most of our work was going to be done. And what month is this?
This is, I believe, September of 2002.
So, and the countries we were going to represent places where we had operations. Like Mozambique, for example, had a big AIDS problem, and we were trying to help. And there was, so that's what I know. Well, in South Africa, we spent quite a bit of time because I wanted to go see Mandela. He was still in good shape then. And we did things together. And then Charlene Hunter Galt, who was one of the black women that integrated the University of Georgia and became then a very well-known international television commentator for PBS, and her husband Ron had moved down to South Africa, and they were longtime friends of mine. We had celebrated the 150th birthday of Arkansas together in Little Rock. We were longtime friends, and so we went to visit them, and she threw a big cookout for us, and it was a funny time. Chris Tucker and Kevin Spacey imitated me.
So a lot of these names on the logs are hard to make out. Do you have any specific recollection of who was on board those flights?
He's not asking you to review and try and see if you can read their names. He's asking you what your recollection is.
It says Shante Davis was, and she worked for Jeffrey.
And I think it was discussed in the previous round, but that well-known photograph of yourself and Miss Davies, what is your recollection of the extent of your interactions with Miss Davies on that trip
Where were we?
in Africa?
No, where was the
I
photograph?
think it was at the airport
Oh,
on the way to.
that's it. I mean, we had a good relationship, but it was entirely proper. I never had any personal contact with her, if that's what you imply.
And am I right that while on that trip, whether the trip or the flights, did you ever witness or become aware of sexual abuse of any kind?
I did not.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President, thank you. We have a series of questions from some of the members in the minority, and so I'll be calling them up as we go through. And thank you, just want to again thank you for being here and answering all the questions. We appreciate that and for your service. Just two clarifying questions, one that was asked during the Republican hour, and I just want to have you reiterate it for the record. Either during or after your presidency, were you ever made aware of Jeffrey Epstein having any kind of relationship, directly or indirectly, with a foreign intelligence agency or service? And I ask because we've received a lot of interest and communication about that topic, and so I want to give you a chance to answer that again if there's anything
No, I
else.
wasn't, and I understood why now when you showed me the passport, but I wasn't. I didn't know anything about that.
Thank you. And then second, of course, this deposition also sets a pretty new precedent, I think, which is something that we've been discussing and folks in across the country are discussing as well. We're thankful that you're here. We believe in the minority that President Trump should also answer this committee's questions. He's someone that is mentioned almost more than any other person beside Ghislaine Maxwell in the Epstein documents. And so to get more information for this investigation, was wondering if you also agree that President Trump should answer questions of this committee.
That's for you to decide, but he did know him well, and I once had a brief discussion with him about it.
Thank you. Thanks for the answer. With that, I'm going to go to Mr. Walkinshaw, and we'll go down a series of questions.
I hate this, but because I don't believe I should inject anything. But I do not want to leave the impression, but since there was no follow-up question, the president never, this is 20-something years ago, never said anything to me to make me think he was involved in anything improper with regard to Epstein either. He just didn't. He just said we were friends. And then we had a falling out over a land deal, property deal. That's all.
Thank you.
Could I ask very briefly, Mr. President,
Sure.
if you recall, what were the circumstances of that conversation? Or at least let's start with, when did the conversation occur?
It was on his golf course. And there were a couple of years there when Joe Torre, who had been the manager of the Yankees and was a friend, and had a tournament, a charity golf tournament, called appropriately for this investigation, the Safe at Home Foundation. And it was designed to combat domestic violence, of which Joe Torre had been a victim as a child. And so I wanted to support it. And so Donald Trump gave him the golf course in New York to have a tournament on, and I played in it a couple of times. And the day I was there, he would typically, Donald Trump would come out and play a few holes with us. And he somehow knew I had flown in Jeffrey Epstein's aircraft, and he said, you know, we had some great times together over the years, but we fell out, all because of a real estate deal. And he said, I'm sorry it happened. That's all.
Do you recall whether President Trump was the first one to affirmatively bring up the subject of Jeffrey Epstein?
No, but I'd be shocked if I did. I just don't do that, you know.
Do you recall whether President Trump elaborated at all on the great times that he had with Jeffrey
No.
Epstein?
No, and at the time, I didn't put any, you know, sexual spin on it.
And as far as you recall, President Trump characterized the nature of the ending of their friendship as being solely due to the real estate
That's
bidding
what he
problem.
said.
Thank you.
But I didn't think much about it at the time. And, you know, it was 2 minutes and then we were gone.
As far as you recall, have you had any other conversations with President Trump related to Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell?
No,
And your best recollection, if you have one, of the year that this conversation occurred?
maybe 2002 or 2003.
Thank you.
But
Thank you, Mr. President. Good afternoon. I just want to focus again on Ghislaine Maxwell. First, I'll ask you just to reiterate, did you ever at any point during your interactions with Ms. Maxwell know about the sexual abuse she committed and facilitated against minors and women?
no,
When did you learn that she had engaged in crimes against girls and young women?
when the first evidence came out, when was it, in 2019?
Okay. And have you ever engaged in sexual activity with a person introduced to you by Ghislaine Maxwell?
No.
You're aware that she was convicted of crimes, as we discussed, and you're aware that she's currently incarcerated as a result of her federal conviction.
Yes.
Maxwell received a 20-year sentence for her crimes. Are you aware that she has repeatedly called on President Trump to grant her clemency, and that she has said that you and President Trump are not guilty of any wrongdoing with respect to Epstein?
I know that now, yes.
In your opinion, does she deserve or should she be granted clemency by President Trump?
I don't think I should comment on that. I don't know anything about President Trump other than what I've already told you.
Okay.
And I thought that was a mistake to pardon everybody in the January 6th case. And this thing was really hard for me when it came out because we had been friendly with Ghislaine. I was sad, but it was terrible what she did, and she has to be punished. Somebody besides me should make a decision on what it is. So she got 20 years, and there it is.
Okay. Mr. President, on July 24th, 2025, the Deputy Attorney General and President Trump's former personal attorney, Todd Blanche, conducted a closed-door interview of Ms. Maxwell at her then low-security prison. On August 1st, 2025, just a few days after that interview, she was transferred to a lower security prison where she's afforded a list of amenities, personalized meals, playtime with puppies, a transfer that I think most Americans agree is inconsistent with a very serious crime she was convicted of. Do you have any opinion on her transfer to that lower security prison and the amenities she's been granted? Did it seem strange to you when you learned of that?
I think you're in a better position to find out what happened than I am.
Okay. When you were President of the United States, was it common for your Deputy Attorney General to directly conduct interviews of witnesses and/or federal inmates?
Was it? You were there.
You have to testify what you know,
He's
what
asking-
you recall.
Yes, he's
You
asking,
recall if it
did you
was-
ever send a deputy attorney general to
To the
interview?
best of my knowledge, I did not do that.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President.
May I ask a question? So Representative Foster, you're still the youngest person in Congress?
Yes, I am, Mr. President.
Lucky you.
Hopefully that changes soon. If you're the youngest for too long, it's not good.
There'll come a time, believe me. I was, for most of my life, the youngest person doing whatever I was doing. And one day I woke up, I was the oldest man in every room, and I couldn't tell you for the life of me how I got from one place to the other. Time will take care of it. Enjoy it while it lasts.
Thank you, thank you. It's a blessing to be the oldest person in the room as well. Mr. President, I just wanted to circle back to the conversation around the conversation you had with Jeffrey Epstein on the golf, or with Donald Trump on the golf course in New York. You know, President Trump has said publicly multiple times that his falling out with Jeffrey Epstein was the result of him hiring away workers from Mar-a-Lago and his crimes. He said that's why he kicked them out of Mar-a-Lago. You brought up, I have two questions about this. Did President Trump specifically characterize the result of this land dispute they had as a falling out specifically, to the best of
Yeah,
your-
he said they both wanted the same piece of land. He didn't say what it was, and that's all I remember.
And he said it was a falling out as a result of that.
Yeah, said it strained their relationship.
Do you know when this conversation happened?
When the conversation I had with him happened, well, it had to be in 2002 or 2003, I think.
2002 to 2003. All right, thank you. During any of your interactions with Jeffrey Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell, did either of them ever mention or discuss their relationships or connections with Howard Lutnick?
No,
What about their relationship or connection with Alex Acosta?
no,
Prior to Jeffrey Epstein's arrest in 2019, did anyone ever speak with you about Epstein's relationship with Howard Lutnick?
no,
And what about Alex Acosta?
no.
Okay, thank you. Those are my questions.
Good morning, Mr. President.
Good morning.
I'm Melanie Stansbury. I represent New Mexico's 1st Congressional District, and it's an honor to have you and your council here. This is a very important investigation, and we obviously have a lot of questions. And for me personally, this case is all about justice for the victims. And I really appreciated in your opening statements, your statement about nobody being above the law, including a president. And I think it's important that we are setting the precedent for Congress establishing oversight and subpoena power over a president. And I believe Donald Trump should and will ultimately be in front of this body. And I also appreciate what you said about women and girls who were abused by Jeffrey Epstein deserving justice and healing. And that's where I'd like to focus my questions. And in particular, I want to focus on 3 survivors who have shared stories that involve you. So I want to begin with Maria Farmer. Do you know who Maria Farmer is? Maria Farmer was employed by Jeffrey Epstein and abused by him for a number of years. And she first reported her abuse to the New York PD and FBI in 1996. And she states that she has personal knowledge that you visited Jeffrey Epstein's house 3 to 4 times while you were the sitting president between 1995 and 1996. And she says she knows this based on photographs that Ghislaine Maxwell showed to her, as well as discussions with the staff. So let me ask you, Mr. President, did you visit Jeffrey Epstein's house while you were president?
I do not remember doing that. I do not believe I did.
How do you explain this discrepancy?
Objection calls for him to speculate.
I can't speculate. But all I can tell you is I don't remember being there.
Okay. Moving on to Virginia Roberts Giuffre. Are you familiar with her? As has already been established, she has stated in numerous sworn statements, including a sworn deposition in the Maxwell trial, that she saw you on the island with Jeffrey Epstein. And in fact, this morning, her family shared her diary with me. And in it is a quote wherein she writes, quote, Bill Clinton met 2 times island with 2 girls, CT, GM, and JE. What is your reaction to that?
It's not true.
Do you have any dates associated with that? Were there dates on the diary? with
I
respect
don't
to-
have that information, but we'll be happy to share it with you.
Would be terrific, because I think there are also records that would reflect where else he would have been. So thanks.
Did she say that in her book?
This is from her personal diary that her family shared with us.
But the book came out more recently. Did she say that in the book?
I can't, I'm just reading you the entry from her diary that her family shared with me.
I think she ultimately reached a different conclusion, although I had no contact with her.
Okay, well, I just want to make sure that it's on the record that that is Virginia Giuffre's statement. Did you ever fly in a helicopter with Ghislaine Maxwell?
Ever, anywhere? I have no idea.
Okay, well, at least one of the survivors claims that you flew in a helicopter with Ghislaine Maxwell to the island.
Did you ever?
Then I did not do that. I've never been to that island.
Okay. The third person I want to talk about briefly is Shantae Davies. I know we've already mentioned her here today. I know you've already mentioned that she was listed as a flight attendant on the trip to South Africa in 2002 that you took with Jeffrey Epstein. Are you aware that Shantae Davies is a survivor who claims she was abused for 3 years, including during that time period?
I am now.
And are you aware that Jeffrey Epstein recruited his victims through calling them masseuses?
No.
You're not aware that
But
Jeffrey...
it doesn't surprise me. I mean, I didn't know that, no.
Knowing that Jeffrey Epstein recruited hundreds of minors as masseuses to massage him, and knowing that this victim, who was a survivor 3 years of his sexual abuse as a masseuse, was on the plane, does that make you think about the massage you received from her differently?
Can I just interrupt? You're saying knowing, you know that. He was saying that he was unaware that that's how Mr. Epstein was recruiting his individuals.
I'm asking if today, hearing
Have you
this,
seen the picture?
I have a copy of it right here. Yes.
Well, I'm sitting up and
I'm just asking if now that you know that Jeffrey Epstein recruited girls as masseuses, does that reframe that photograph, and knowing that there were girls on the plane that were being abused?
Objection. It states facts not in the record. You can ask this witness what he thinks or remembers about anything that happened, but I don't think it's right to ask him to speculate.
she wants to know if I feel bad about it, yes.
I'm not, I think
Don't you?
what I'm trying to get at is that there is a culture that surrounded Jeffrey Epstein in which rich and powerful people saw young women that were survivors who were being abused and didn't say anything and didn't do anything.
So is your question-
Part of what I'm trying to do is to ask you, we know there was a survivor that was on the plane. You've stated that you didn't know she was a survivor. I understand that, but I'm asking now that you are aware that Epstein was recruiting survivors as masseuses, does this make you rethink what you saw as you were traveling and interacting with him?
Okay, so he has already spoken to...
I'd like-
Wait a minute. I want to make sure that you are clearly answering her question. He's already stated what he saw and what he knew. And so what you're now asking him is, given what you've now shared with him, does he think any differently about what he
Yes.
saw and what he knew? Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
I wish Shantae had told me. I liked her. But I didn't think it was anything unusual. I can't tell you how many airplanes I've been on where rich people asked me to go and they had someone offering a massage. You know, all these boats that you go on and all that, they all do that. I'm not into this.
Well, that certainly raises some other questions about people offering free massages on boats, etc. But I do want to enter a couple of exhibits into the record, and I know council is prepared to pass them out. And while that is occurring, we're going to introduce this exhibit. What is it? Exhibit I, it'll be Minority Exhibit I, which is a FBI PowerPoint that was included in the files that were released as part of the Epstein Files Transparency Act. And then I would like to introduce this exhibit, which is Exhibit J, which is internal correspondence, emails between the FBI. And though I'm short on time, what I'll describe in both these exhibits is that your name appears in FBI tip sheets as having attended parties in Jeffrey Epstein's presence in which sexual activities were occurring. Did you ever attend a party of any kind or an event with Jeffrey Epstein in which sexual activities were occurring? Okay. And then finally, there will be many millions of people that watch this deposition. What would you like to say to the survivors directly?
That I hope this will produce a sense of finality. And I don't think that'll happen till the government starts holding on to all the records. I think that, the records should be released. And then I think that we need to come up with strategies to help people who can't get over this get better. And the most important thing we do, I think, besides treat the victims right, is increase the guardrails that will set off alarm systems and stop other people from doing the same thing Epstein did.
Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We had an additional member join us in the interim. Could that member just identify themselves?
Absolutely. Hello, Mr. President. My name is Nick Langford. I represent New York's 23rd Congressional District, Buffalo suburbs, rural southern tier. Thank you for being here today.
Can you just, for the record, the time check?
We've got about 5 minutes left in this round.
Thank you so much.
I think it's fine. Congressman, how are you?
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you for being here and for your time today. Thank you for your service. We have, as you know, in the files that were released, there were several photos, included you, and we have an exhibit here. That's just one of the photos. And Exhibit K, Minority Exhibit K.
Yep.
We'll have that passed around. And what we're trying to get at is some context for the public on whether you remember this photo and any details you may be able to provide us about it. So do you recall the details of this photo, or recall the photo being taken?
No, I don't think I ever knew the photo was taken.
Okay, and for those who can't see it, it's a photo of you in a hot tub. There's a person next to you here. Do you remember where it was taken? Where was it taken?
I'm almost sure that this taken, I think there's an adjacent photograph, which you probably have, that if people saw it, they would feel that someone was trying to con them showing this picture. But anyway, this picture was taken in Brunei. And we flew one night on a trip to Asia, the last very long leg.
You said we, is it, who is that including?
Well, my whole team that was working
Thank you.
on the AIDS issue, and Mr. Epstein was there, and
Okay.
Miss Maxwell. But anyway, we got to the end of the flight was Brunei. It's a tiny place, but a very wealthy one, and the Sultan of Brunei was a man that I had gotten to know well in my 8 years as president. And his first involvement with international matters was basically to join the Asian Pacific Economic Leaders Conference, which I started and which he attended. And then he was very proud of that, and he hosted, his time came to host it. You do these things in a rotation. And it came either at the very end of my term or maybe the next year. Anyway, he wanted, when he knew I was coming, and he said he wanted to help me with my AIDS initiative, and he invited me to stay there. And he said, I want you to stay at this hotel, and I hope you'll use the pool. So I did, and then I got out and went to bed, exhausted.
Just for the record, there's another picture that also shows this as part of the larger pool area. Do you all have that so that he can refresh his recollection with respect to that?
You should have it. It's quite enlightening. If you watch this,
Yes, it's noted.
it'll
Yes.
give you a different feel.
Thank you.
Okay.
We don't have it with us right now.
Okay,
We do
thanks. I just
have
wanted
it
to
as
make
well.
sure he knew the
And so
context.
were there other people in that pool or hot tub with you as well?
I don't think there's anybody in the hot tub. I didn't forgotten that there was anybody in the hot tub, but it was big, but it was about,
Well, there's
He's
a,
asking in the pool
it appears
area.
there's this photo, there's a girl over here, or there's someone.
yeah, I don't know who that is.
But he's also asking in the pool area were there other
Yes,
individuals?
I don't know who that is.
Okay, so you don't know?
No, and then there were other people in the pool.
Okay, so do you remember who, were they under 18? Would you
No.
know? No.
Were they part of your traveling party, he's asking you?
Yes, they were, I think. I think everybody there was part of our party. It was late at night or late-ish, and I also believe that there was a Secret Service agent there at the other end of the pool.
Okay, and was this in public?
No, it was a hotel room, and the Sultan wanted us to stay there, and the water, this big pool, was on the same floor that there were several suites, so we went out, I swam around, I sat in the hot tub for 5 minutes, or whatever it was, and I got up and went to bed.
And then I have to ask this, did you engage in any sexual activity
No.
with this person? Okay, thank you.
And that ends this round, and we can go off the record.